invite the children to come on up. Come on up. How's that? Okay, and I think, come on up, and I think you're going to want to see me because I do a lot of stuff. So I think you're going to want to face me. Make yourselves at home. All right. And tonight, as Pastor Kathy said, our story, you okay? Okay. Our story comes from the Old Testament, from the book of Ester. There's a king in tonight's story. King Ahasuerus ruled over a huge country. There were lots of different people who lived in that country, and they were allowed to be different. They were allowed to speak different languages. They were allowed to worship different gods as long as they obeyed the king's laws. There's a beautiful girl in our story. Her name is Ester. Ester's mom and dad died when she was a little girl, and she went to live with her uncle Mordecai. Mordecai is the church leader. Members of Mordecai's church live all throughout the kingdom ruled by Ahasuerus. Mordecai and Esther and Mordecai's church members are Jews. They love our God very, 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 very much. Haman is an advisor to the king. Haman gives the king advice about what kind of laws to make and how to reward people that make the king happy and how to punish people that make the king angry. Haman thinks he is important. Haman thinks he is special. Haman is the bad guy in tonight's story. Haman is the bad guy in tonight's story. So whenever I say his name, I want you to make lots of noise. I want you to boo and hiss and all right? So what happens when I say the name Haman? Oh, that's excellent, excellent. Do you know what I think might be even better? I think it might be even better if we included some other people. What do you think? Make it bigger. All right. We would like to invite you to share in our story tonight. Now, the children and I have some instructions for you. When I say the name Haman, oh, that's good, that's good. So what happens when I say the name Haman? I think it just needs a little something else. Pastor Kathy, you always have such good ideas. Oh, I told you she had good ideas. What do you have for us? Ooh, you think that would be good when she says Haman? All right. Can you make that one when she says Haman? Throw it away. Hold on. Throw it away. All right. Do you know how it works? Okay, now. But you have to listen. Are you ready? What happens when I say the name Haman? You only get one boo, one hiss, and one okay? All right. Are you ready? King Ahasuerus needed a new queen. But how would he find the most beautiful, the most special, the most perfect queen in a kingdom that was so huge? King Ahasuerus probably asked his advisors, including Haman, if they had any suggestions. And then the king had a brilliant idea. He would hold a royal beauty contest. He would summon all the beautiful young women from his kingdom to come and live in the palace for a year. While they were there, they would get special food and beauty treatments to make them even more beautiful before the contest. Word of the beauty contest spread throughout the kingdom. I'll bet even Haman told some people. Mordecai was sad to see her go, but he promised her something. He said, Esther, I will come often to the palace garden so that I can check up on you and see how you're doing. But Esther, I need you to make a promise too. Promise me that you won't tell anyone that you're a Jew. That will be our secret. Esther promised her uncle, and then she went to the palace to live for a year. Everyone at the palace, including Haman, everyone loved Esther. She was beautiful and kind and gentle, and she grew more beautiful every day with the special food and special treatment. Finally, the day came when Esther went in front of King Ahasuerus. When the king saw her, he knew that she was the most beautiful, the most special, the most perfect queen in all of his kingdom. He sent a servant to get the queen's crown. And that day, in front of everyone, including Haman, the king crowned her Queen Esther. From that day on, everybody, including Haman, called her Queen Esther. Mordecai kept his promise even after Esther became queen. He used to go to the palace garden often to find out how she was doing. One day when he was there, he heard a couple of people talking. They were plotting to kill the king in his sleep that night. Mordecai peeked around the corner. It was two of the king's servants. Mordecai hurried and told Queen Esther to warn the king. Queen Esther went to the king and said, Your Majesty, Mordecai reports that two of your servants are planning to kill you tonight in your sleep. The king asked Queen Esther if she was sure. Yes, Your Majesty. Mordecai heard them himself. The king had the report investigated. He might even have asked Haman. To investigate. They found that the report was true, and the king had the two servants arrested and killed before they could kill him. About that time, the king decided that they should write in the royal scroll that Mordecai had saved the king's life. And so it was written. And then King Ahasuerus decided that he would make Haman his most important advisor. Haman knew he was special, and now everyone else knew it too. Haman decided that everyone should bow to him as he passed by. And so as he walked through the palace, everyone, except the king and queen, bowed to Haman. And as Haman walked through the city streets, everyone bowed down to him. Everyone, that is, except Mordecai. Some of Haman's friends asked Mordecai why he didn't bow down. And Mordecai said, I am a Jew, and the only time I bow down is when I pray and worship my God. Day after day, Haman walked through the streets, and day after day, everyone bowed down to Haman. Everyone, that is, except Mordecai. This made Haman very angry. Some of Haman's friends told him, Mordecai will never bow down to you. The only time he bows down is when he prays and worships his God. This made Haman furious. Haman decided that he would punish Mordecai. He would have Mordecai killed. And not just Mordecai, but all the Jews in the kingdom. Haman hurried to tell the king. Your Majesty, he said, it has come to my attention that there are people living in your kingdom who are different. We must destroy them before they plot to overthrow you. King Ahasuerus asked Haman who these people could be, and Haman replied, Your Majesty, they are the Jews. King Ahasuerus gave Haman permission to write a law. So Haman wrote a law that on the 13th day of the 12th month, all of the Jews in the kingdom would be killed. As word of the law got to different people, Mordecai heard of it. When he heard it, he was upset. He moaned and cried and tore his clothes. And as more and more of the Jews throughout the kingdom heard about the law, they moaned and cried and tore their clothes. Queen Esther could see that something was wrong for Mordecai, and she sent two of her servants to find out what was wrong. Mordecai explained to the servants that Haman had made a law saying that all of the Jews in the kingdom would be killed soon. He told the servants to tell the queen that she had to go and tell the king to save their lives. The servants hurried back and told Queen Esther what Mordecai had said. But Queen Esther had a problem. You see, there was a law in the land that said the only time you could go and see the king was if the king invited you. And the king had invited Queen Esther for about 30 days. The law also said that if you went to see the king without an invitation, the king could have you killed. But Esther knew she had to do something. And so she decided that for 3 days she would pray and fast, not eat any food. She asked her servants to tell Mordecai and all the Jews in the kingdom that they too needed to spend 3 days praying and fasting, going without food. At the end of those 3 days, Esther put on her most beautiful robe and went to see the king. When King Ahasuerus saw her, he said, Queen Esther, come in. What is it you would ask of me? Whatever it is, I will give you, even if it is half of my kingdom. Queen Esther smiled and said, Your Majesty, I would like to invite you and Haman to come to dinner tonight. The king and Haman readily agreed. That night after dinner, King Ahasuerus said again, Queen Esther, what is it that you would ask of me? Whatever it is, I will give to you, even if it is half of my kingdom. Queen Esther again smiled and said, Your Majesty, I would like to invite you and Haman to dinner again tomorrow night, and then I will ask you my favor. So that night, as Haman left the palace, he was feeling especially important. After all, the queen had not invited anyone but the king and Haman to her dinner party. As he went through the city streets, everyone bowed down to Haman. Everyone, that is, except Mordecai. Haman went home angry, plotting to kill Mordecai. That night, King Ahasuerus couldn't sleep. He tossed and he turned and he turned and he tossed. Finally, he said to one of the servants, Bring me one of the royal history scrolls and read something to me. The servant brought the royal history scroll and read about the time Mordecai had saved the king's life. King Ahasuerus said, What was done to reward Mordecai? Nothing, Your Majesty, said the servant. The king decided he would need to fix that. So the next day he said, Haman, what should I do for the man I wish to honor? Haman assumed that the king wanted to honor him, and he said, Your Majesty, for the man you want to honor, you should put your royal robe around his shoulders. You should put one of your royal crowns upon his head. You should put him on one of your royal horses and have an advisor lead the horse through the city, shouting, "This is what is done for the man the king wishes to honor." Great idea, Haman, said the king. You do all of those things for Mordecai. I want to reward him for saving my life. Mordecai, Haman, was not a happy camper. But it was the king's command. And so Haman put a royal robe around Mordecai's shoulders. And Haman put a royal crown on Mordecai's head. And then Haman helped Mordecai onto the royal horse. And then Haman led the horse through the city shouting, "This is what is done for the man the king wishes to honor." That night, Haman went home angrier than ever. But when he got home, it was almost time to go to the queen's dinner party. So Haman hurried to the palace. That night after dinner again, the king said, "Queen Esther, I know you want to ask me a favor. Ask me anything, and I will give it to you, even if it is half of my kingdom." "Your Majesty," said Queen Esther, "if you love me, save my life. Not just mine, but the lives of all of the Jews living in your kingdom. For a law has been written saying that we must be killed very soon." King Ahasuerus asked who had written such a law. And Queen Esther replied, "Haman." The king left the dinner party angry. Haman knew the king was upset, and he begged the queen to help him. The king came back into the dinner party with guards. They arrested Haman and took him out and killed him before he could kill the Jews. Then Queen Esther said, "Your Majesty, if you love me, write a new law saving my life and the life of all the Jews living in your kingdom." The king asked Mordecai to write the law. And so Mordecai wrote a law saving the lives of all the Jews living in the kingdom. As the Jews heard about the law, they rejoiced. They sang and danced and thanked God for saving them. And that is the story of how God made Queen Esther beautiful and brave so that she could foil the plot of the evil Haman. You did a great job. Thank you so much for your help. Well done. All right. Are we ready to go dance?